Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to Corridor 8 podcast. It's episode 293, and the topic is the Russo-Serbian threat to the Western Balkans. We had the pleasure to discuss the topic with Dr. Gurakuç Kuçi from Kosovo. He is a doctor in international relations and history of diplomacy, professor at Universum College, external collaborator at Institute for Hybrid Warfare Studies, OCTOPUS, in the capital of Kosovo, Pristina. So, hello and welcome to Corridor 8, Dr. Kuçi.
Hello. Hello also for your viewers, and it's my pleasure to be on your podcast.
It's a pleasure for us too. Could you please introduce yourself for our audience?
As you said, I'm a doctor for international relations and history of diplomacy, and I also am a professor and external collaborator at the Octopus Institute for Hybrid Warfare Studies. My research work focuses on the analysis of geopolitical competition in the region, the ways in which external actors use hybrid instruments to influence political and strategic processes, as well as the study of information manipulation, propaganda, and influence of operations. So the Balkans is a particularly interesting region for security research because several dimensions of international politics intersect here. Example, we can say history, identity, great power rivalry, and the processes of Euro-Atlantic integration. For this reason, the region is frequently mentioned in strategic reports of the European Union and NATO as an area of particular importance for the stability of Europe. Many analyses produced by European institutions emphasize that the Balkan is a region where geopolitical competitions unfold through various instruments, so ranging from diplomacy and economic to propaganda, information manipulation. We can say that the Balkan is a laboratory where one can observe very clearly how geopolitical competitions function in the 21st century.
Balkans like laboratory, hopefully we are not the guinea pigs in the laboratory, but it's true we live in this very, very interesting region. And looking back, what sparkled your professional interest in the topics of geopolitics, national and regional security, and hybrid warfare on the Balkans?
I will say that my interest in these topics is directly connected to the historical and political reality of the region. The Balkans has for decades been a space where historical conflicts, great power rivalry, and the processes of political transformation after the Cold War intersects. What has always interested me is the fact that the conflicts in the region cannot be explained solely through the military dimensions. Very often they develop through historical narratives, information manipulation, economic pressure, and political influence. This led me to examine the circumstances of conflicts from the perspective of civilization, ideology, and geopolitics, also at the global level. For this reason, I made also my PhD with those three concepts, because I think we must to understand very well, we must to use transdisciplinary method. Also in Western Balkan or in Balkan as at all, we must use transdisciplinary method at many times to understand what is happening here. Because we have too many identities, too many things that are intersects itself. For this reason, I later focused on the study of hybrid warfare. This concept has become very important in the strategic analysis of NATO and the European Union, because it explains the ways states use a combination of political, economic, informational, and cyber tools to achieve strategic objectives without necessarily using military force. In this context, example, the European Union also uses the term FIMI, Foreign Information Manipulation Interference, or FIMI, to describe organization, information, manipulation, conduct by external actors, or not to use the resilience concept and also the hybrid warfare concept more exactly than the Europe. In the Balkans, history is not only the past, it is continuously used as a political instrument in the present. So we must use also the transdisciplinary method, also the past and what is happening here, because in the Balkans, everything also what is happening before 5 centuries, it's important to us because it's something someone here can use that and make also a war what it's happened before 500 years.
And how would you describe the current security situation in the Western Balkans in early 2026, especially in the light of Russia's ongoing war in Ukraine and the new war in the Middle East, the United States and Israel against Iran?
The security situation in the Western Balkans in 2026 can be described as relatively stable, but fragile, too fragile at least. The region is not on the brink of an open conflict because here, example, in Kosovo, we have KFOR and too many countries of the Western Balkans now are part of the NATO, but yet it remains exposed to political tensions and external influences. Russia war against Ukraine has significantly altered the strategic context in Europe and has increased the importance of the Balkans as a space where geopolitical rivalry between Russia and the West can sometimes manifest itself more directly. Recent European Union reports on the Western Balkans emphasize that the region remains exposed to hybrid threats, particularly in the fields of disinformation and information manipulation. NATO also considers the region as an important part of the European security architecture. Conflicts that Serbia seeks to keep unresolved, such as the issue of Kosovo or the institutional tension in Bosnia and Herzegovina, create an environment in which crises can emerge relatively quickly if the international context changes. The Balkans is not at war, but it is also not in a strategically consolidated peace. We must remember every time when a war or something happened in the world, Serbia tends to use that against Kosovo. Example, we remember also to the war, 12-day war or 13 days war, that it was between Iran and Israel before some months. They said that it's the momentum when we can use hybrid warfare or attack Kosovo, because all the focus of the world is to Iran, Israel. So in those fields, we must to be very confident and very to look the security way what is happening in Balkan, because every time some actors or proxy can use that to make actions against another countries. Example, we must say that when the Banska attack happened in Kosovo, at the same time Russia was using to attack strategical points in Ukraine for energy, and also at the same way was doing also Serbia against Kosovo with Banska terrorist attack and also the Iberlipens terrorist attack.
Many studies describe the Balkans as the battlefield for Russia's hybrid war, aimed at undermining the EU and NATO and undermining the cohesion of the European Union and NATO on the region. And in your opinion, what are the main security risks stemming from this strategy today, and which countries or fault lines are most vulnerable today?
Russia's strategy in the Balkans is relatively sophisticated and does not necessarily aim to a direct control of the region. Rather, it has shifted from direct control toward proxy influence and also in the intelligence way, without agents, they are recruiting students, more students, also in other fields, but also the students, they are recruiting in the Balkans to have their influence. In many cases, the objective is to obstruct the Euro-Atlantic consolidation of the region and to create a political unstable environment. This is pursued through several key instruments. One of them is the information manipulation through media outlets and social networks. Another is the instrumentalization of historical and identity divisions in order to increase political polarization, followed also by forms of ethnic engineering. These methods correspond to what the European Union defines as FIMI, foreign information manipulation and interference, while NATO classifies them as part of the spectrum of hybrid warfare or hybrid threats. In this sense, the objective is not necessarily territorial domination, but the creation of a situation in which political and integration processes become slower and more unstable. This delaying dynamics can later become advantageous for the interest actor if geopolitical circumstances change. So Russia's goal is not necessarily to dominate the Balkan. Often it is sufficient to keep the region unstable. So in the change of the geopolitical moments, as also the Vucic said, that we will use for our interests.
I'm just presenting to our viewers your page on ResearchGate. I liked very much the content you add in this scientific network. So for our viewers, I believe it will be very useful source of information about your research.
My research you can find more at the LinkedIn or in the X, because there I post more them in the English language. So many of them here are just the scientific papers, but on the LinkedIn and also in the X, there are my also analysis, short analysis, opinions, and something so.
So we will recommend your LinkedIn and X profile to our viewers. They could follow you and they could easily get to know much better your research. Now, here I will share my personal observation about Russia, since you studied the Russian hybrid operations in Europe, especially on the Balkans, especially on the Western Balkans. And as you mentioned, I fully agree with you. Russia and also Serbia has this approach of using actually a variety of approaches. And Russia is very good in targeting Serbia or North Macedonia, Bosnia, Montenegro, Kosovo, even Bulgaria, in very different ways, like combination of actions, depending on what is working in a specific social environment in every country. Russian propaganda applies misusing with historical memory, historical grievances, weaponizing the Slavic or the Orthodox identity, like in Bulgaria, in Serbia, in North Macedonia, Montenegro, spreading disinformation about the West. And as a Bulgarian citizen, I'm a witness of such examples. Exercising control or supporting anti-Western media or opinion makers, exercising control over energy sources and energy leverage, instilling fears of future problems like the adoption of euro in Bulgaria since the beginning of 2026. So there are varieties of options that Russian propaganda uses in different countries. And what specific examples of hybrid tactics like media propaganda or energy leverage or political interference do you see as most active at this moment? And how effective have they been in slowing down the Euro-Atlantic integration of the Western Balkans? Dr. Kuci.
In the Western Balkans, Russia does not apply a single uniform strategy. Its hybrid tactics are highly adaptive and tailored to the political, social, and historical context of each country. Example, I have you can find there 3 papers on my profile that one took for Montenegro, another for North Macedonia, and one another for Russia's hybrid warfare tactics. Their overall objective is generally similar, slowing Euro-Atlantic integration and creating political friction, but the instruments used often differ from one country to another. In some states, such as Serbia, one of the most visible instruments is information influence and narrative framing. They have also their media, example, Sputnik and Russia Today in Balkans. Traf media networks and political message in Russia promotes narratives that question Western institutions and emphasize geopolitical neutrality or strategic balancing. This approach aims to shape public opinion and maintain political space for non-alignment. So you are using now a political way that is not used before, because they are tending to make the Serbia to look as a neutral country, but that can cooperate with all parts of the Western, and then Serbia can use them as a gate to influence some people in Western countries or in Western institutions. Now we have documents that it happens now, and I wrote for this. In Montenegro, however, the dynamics have been somewhat different. There we have seen stronger use of identity politics, religious mobilization, and forms of ethnic engineering, often intervened with regional political actors. Narratives connected to the Serbian Orthodox Church, historical grievances, and identity questions have played a significant role in political polarization. Example, in the last census in Montenegro, Russia with Serbia tended to make an ethnic engineering there. Then people from Montenegro must to write that they are Serbian people, not Montenegrins. Also, the Orthodox Church made too much lobbying on this way. So they achieved to make 33% of the people there to declare himself that they are Serbian people and not Montenegrins. In North Macedonia, and I must say also that they use the electoral processes to change all the political classes there from 2020, and they achieved that in a way, but NATO reacted too soon to stop that, and not to make a Trojan horse, Montenegro to make a Trojan horse in the NATO organization. So also in North Macedonia, in identity and historical narratives also has been important, particularly those connected to religion, culture, and regional geopolitical alignments. They use it also the church, Orthodox Church. They use it also the investment on the cultural way to make but all the investment are made with the relics from Russia, not from Macedonian people, not to make an importance in the ethnic Macedonia, but to make an importance to the religious based on the relics from Russia. So they must to connect Macedonians more with Russians. Meanwhile, in Bosnia and Herzegovina, hybrid influence tends to intersect with existing institutional and ethnic divisions, where political actors sometimes amplify narratives that challenge the authority of state-level institutions. the demonstration that Russia's approach in the Balkan is not a single template, but a flexible strategy that exploits the specific vulnerabilities of each environment. Russia was influenced also in Kosovo with Wagner Group, and also with other persons, and also with some media. They use it before 2 years to interference in the protesters in Kosovo against journalists, against KFOR, and also they use too many tactics to interference the Wagner groups in the Serbian community. So Russia does not export the same hybrid strategy to every Balkan country. It adapts its tactics to the political and social fault lines of each state.
There is a very popular Russian political concept, very often used in the Russian political thought in the last 3 decades. It's called Russian world, Ruski Mir. It stresses on the importance of restoring the Russian influence, political, cultural, economic influence on the territories that Moscow traditionally perceives as historically Russian or belonging to the Russian political sphere of influence. Bulgaria is one of such countries which usually the Russian political elite perceives as part of the political sphere of influence. During the Soviet time, there was a proverb in Russian called "Kurica ne ptica, Bulgaria ne za granica." That means that the hen is not a bird and Bulgaria is not abroad. That was the way how many Russians perceived and probably still perceive Bulgaria as a country, and this is why Bulgaria in a specific way is part of the Russian world concept. But if we look at this case of Bulgaria, it's mainly by media, by opinion makers, even by economic mechanisms to has impact on our society and our politics. But if we look at the ongoing Russian-Ukrainian war, this is a part of the implementation of Russian world concept by military means. Here on the Balkans, we have another concept. It's called Serbian world, Srpski svet. And in many aspects, it seems that today, Russian world and Serbian world go hand by hand together on the Balkans, because it seems that the political elites, and I have to underline the elites, not the people, has very similar goals. And it seems that Serbian world is the regional form of the same mindset that drives Moscow's actions. This is my interpretation. Maybe it's speculation, but do you think there is anything in common between the Russian world and the Serbian world?
No, I don't. I agree with you, and it's not a speculation. You are right. The concept of the Russian world, or Ruski Mir, if we translate exactly the goods Russia, and the Serbian world, or Srpski svet, as you said, are essentially the same idea operating at different geopolitical scales. They are built on the same ideological and political logic. The use of identity, history, religion, and cultural affiliation as instruments for extending political influence beyond the formal borders of the state. I must cite in an interview Alexander Dugin, and I think it was 2012 year, he said that Russia is not enough, do not have enough force, and also the Serbia. So we must create an Orthodox army that is above Russia and all the Orthodox countries, and we must unite all the militaries in the Orthodox meaning or mindset or something so, and we must to have Lebensbraunen or some Lebensbraunen or something as space for living all the slaves. So Serbia and Russia every time use the Slavic identity, and they tend to be the real representative of the Slavic ethnic or Slavic identity. The concept of the Russian world is based on the claim that Russia has a historical and civilizational responsibility to protect and maintain political, cultural, and linguistic influence among communities that are perceived as part of the broader Russian historical space, near abroad. They use also this near abroad. Within this framework, language, religion, historical memory, and cultural ties are used to legitimize political influence outside Russia's territorial boundaries. In the case of Ukraine, this logic has even been used to justify military intervention. In the Balkans, the idea of the Serbian world reflects the same underlying logic, but within a regional context. We must say that it was 28 March, if I do not make any mistake, of 2023, that Russia published the Russian world doctrine with charge, and also 1 month a half then Serbia with charge and with Bosnia and with Republika Srpska made the same. So the Serbian world, it emphasizes Serbia's political, cultural, and identity-based connection with Serbian communities in neighboring countries, particularly in Bosnia and Herzegovina, Montenegro, and Kosovo. Just like the Russian world concept, it relies heavily on historical narratives, identity politics, and religious affiliation to construct a broader political space that goes beyond international recognized borders. These concepts also operate within a wider geopolitical relationship between Russia and Serbia. The two countries maintain close ties in several strategic domains, including energy cooperation, military relations, intelligence cooperation, and political coordination on international issues. Because of these structural links, the narratives of the Russian world and the Serbian world cannot realistically be treated as isolated phenomena. They function with the same geopolitical environment and reinforce each other politically and ideologically. At their core, both projects instrumentalize religion and identity. One operates at the level of a major power with broader geopolitical ambitions, while the other functions at a regional level through Serbia's political discourse. In both cases, religion and historical identity are not primarily used for spiritual purposes, but as tools for political influence and geopolitical position. So, the Russian world and the Serbian world are essentially the same ideological idea, and also the geopolitical idea. The difference is only in the scale that they are applying. Russia has a more pure Orthodox, and Serbia also using or make a narrative for itself that they are protecting the Christianity of Europe, the Serbian world.
So you made a very interesting and comprehensive infographic about the joint Russian-Serbian strategy in the case of Kosovo, which could be also applied for analysis of strategy of Russia and Serbia in other Balkan countries. But Could you explain it in more detail for our audience, Dr. Kuci?
Yes, sure, I can explain that. And this is a new, just before some days, I published this schema. So this infographics tries to explain a strategic pattern that is often overlooked in discussion about the Kosovo issue. The central argument is that certain narratives emerging from Belgrade and Moscow should not be interpreted as isolated political statements, but rather as part of a coordinated discursive and strategic environment. At the first level of the scheme is what I call the delegitimization of the West as a negotiation framework. Serbian propaganda increasingly promotes the idea that the United States and the European Union are trying to impose the recognition of Kosovo on Serbia through pressure or even secret agreements. Secret, because they lied also there. When we combine these narratives with statements from Russian officials, such as Sergei Lavrov, suggesting that Serbia should reconsider its relationship with the European Union, we see two parallel discursive lines with the same strategic goal: to create the perception that Serbia is under political siege from the West. The second element is the scheme is what I described as a psychostrategic approach. Here, the narrative architecture operates along several vectors. First, a sense of existential threat is cultivated by presenting Kosovo as a lost territory that the West allegedly wants Serbia to abandon. Second, the constant rhetorical confrontation with Western actors is normalized, transforming political tension into a permanent conditions. Third, the credibility of the Western mediation is gradually undermined, lowering expectations for compromise and prolonging the negotiation deadlock. And finally, this environment creates space for a more flexible geopolitical shift toward Russia, presented as an alternative partner in the face of Western pressure. The third layer of the infographic related to hybrid warfare logic. In hybrid conflicts, narratives usually precede actions. Discourse prepares the political and psychological terrain. When certain narratives are repeated consistently about betrayal, pressure, or existential threat, it often indicates that parallel strategic calculations are taking place behind the scenes. Finally, the infographic are also highlight the importance of Kosovo's response. In such a situation, fragmented messaging weakness a state position. The most effective response is a unified political stance combined with strong diplomatic coordination with Western allies. So, in hybrid strategy, narratives are really accidental. They prepare the terrain for the next political move. So we do not have propaganda without any intention. And they have intention against Kosovo and also other countries.
It's really very, very interesting and very comprehensive approach that you undertook here. I believe it's a very useful model, even for analysis of other countries, which makes it a really, really helpful tool. Is there a place for other external actors on the Balkans, especially in the Western Balkans? For example, China, through its economic influences, infrastructure investments, and non-state agents. I'm sorry. Are there arguments to say that the Chinese investments here pose increasing security risks to the Western Balkans and the Balkans in general, actually? And is there possibility Chinese interests to interact or amplify the Russian efforts on the Balkans? So I might say there is one Bulgarian researcher, Mrs. Chakarova. She lives and works in Vienna, Austria. A respected, very well respected geopolitical researcher, and she coined the term dragon beer. So the combination of the dragon, the Chinese symbol, and the beer, the Russian symbol, is medved. So is there any option here on the Balkans for cooperation and mutual support of Russian and Chinese interests, in your opinion?
Yes, I will. I will try to be specific to both actors, Russia and China. Besides Russia, another external actor sure that deserves attention in the Western Balkans is China. Although its approach is different in both methods and strategic logic. China's presence in the region is primarily economic and technological rather than either ideological or narrative driven. Every time China, they tend to be more in the economic investment and technological way, not with the ideological way or narratives at least. But for example, in Serbia, China has developed a deeper relationship that goes beyond trade, including infrastructure investments, technological cooperation, and even military cooperation, such as the purchase of Chinese drones and joint military exercises in 2025. In other countries of the region, including Albania or Kosovo, China's presence is far more limited and mostly related to trade flows, rather than large-scale strategic investments. But we must remember that too many European countries, also Western Balkan countries, some of them were and now also they are part of the Belt and Road Initiative, China's initiative. So it is therefore important not to treat Russia and China as a single block of influence. Both of them, they have their interests. Russia tends to operate through political narratives, identity politics, information, manipulation, and security influence. China, on the other hand, usually expands its influence through economic instruments, technology, and long-term infrastructure positions. At the same time, recent reporting in the Telegraph highlighted another emerging pattern in Europe. Both Russia and Chinese actors have been involved in purchasing property near strategic locations, including areas close to military or critical infrastructure sites. However, the strategic logic behind these activities appears to differ. Russia's approach often reflects a more direct security-oriented mindset, while China's acquisitions seems to focus more on access to information network, logistic, and technological infrastructure. In the broader geopolitical environment, the European Union increasingly recognizes that delaying the integration of the Western Balkans could create opportunities for external actors to expand their influence. Recent discussion in Brussels about acceleration EU enlargement to include the Western Balkans alongside Ukraine and Moldova reflects precisely this concern. They have also the tendency that, or they declared at least, that they want all the Western Balkan countries until 2030 to be part of the European Union. So this it will be very well, because also China and Russia will not have too much space to be inside in the strategic way on the Western Balkans and to influence the countries here, and also to make any destabilization inclusively or exclusively by Russia, because China has a different way. Also, why every time we see them to have a good cooperation in too many things, but China doesn't not see itself as part of the Russian geopolitical strategy. They have their interests, and at any moment, also they can have some clashes also for Western Balkans.
I have muted myself. When we look at the Western Balkans as a whole, how do frozen conflicts like the status of Kosovo, the constitutional division of Bosnia, or Serbia's position in other parts of the region, how these conflicts are placed in the context of the great powers competition, besides the interests of China or the interests of Russia? What kind of risks do you see in our region? And is there something that could trigger escalation in the forthcoming years?
But real frozen conflicts in the Western Balkans are dangerous precisely because they are not truly frozen. They are unresolved political and constitutional disputes that can easily be reactivated when local tensions intersect with broader geopolitical competitions between major powers. In the case of Serbia, which continues to maintain open political disputes with several of its neighbors and frequently uses confrontational rhetoric, particularly toward Kosovo and Bosnia and Herzegovina, even small incidents can quickly escalate into larger crises. We see every day they create or they use every accident or every incident to make something that or to represent Kosovo that is making cleansing against Serbian people. And every time they have a strategy of communication with their media and their influencers in all of the world. They have influencers that they act in Facebook, Twitter, X, then LinkedIn, and too many social media, and also in the hoops that are not too public, and also Telegram. In Bosnia and Herzegovina, the fragile constitutional structure and the tensions between political entities remain a constant source of instability. At the same time, Serbia's proclaimed neutrality often appears strategically ambitious, creating space for external actors to exploit regional divisions. This ambiguity increases the likelihood that the Western Balkan can be, or to say, used as a geopolitical arena where external powers attempt to delay, to undermine Euro-Atlantic integration processes. In the context of great power competitions, these unresolved disputes become strategic pressure points. External actors may use them to test Western cohesion, generate instability, or expand their political influence in the region. Escalation could be triggered by security incidents on the ground, institutional paralysis in Bosnia, nationalistic rhetoric during electoral periods, increased militarization, or the perception that Western attention is distracted by other global crises. History repeatedly shows that unresolved disputes in smaller regions can become catalysts for wider instability. For this reason, the Euro-Atlantic integration of the Western Balkan is not only a political project, but also a long-term security necessity for the region. So, frozen conflicts in the Balkans are not inactive disputes. They are strategic fault lines that can be activated by the next geopolitical shock.
One last question I have for you, Dr. Kuci. Um, what could the region's leaders, the politicians in power, could do, especially those who are sincerely working for the integration of the region in the EU and NATO, in order to minimize the risks for our common security in Kosovo, Montenegro, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Macedonia, Bulgaria. What could we do? What should they do?
Yeah. If regional leaders are genuinely committed to Euro-Atlantic integration, then the first step is political clarity and strategic alignment. Ambiguity in foreign policy creates space for external actors to exploit divergence. And we saw this from 2020 until 2024, and also now in Montenegro and also in North Macedonia, exclusively on those two countries. Ambiguity in foreign policy creates space. So countries that aim to join the EU and NATO must clearly align their foreign security and defense policies with Euro-Atlantic institutions and avoid strategic balancing between competing geopolitical blocks. Second, is the government in the region needs to strengthen democratic institutions and the rule of law. Weak institutions create opening for corruption, foreign influence, and political manipulation. Judicial independence, transparent governance, and strong anti-corruption mechanisms are essential not only for the EU accession, but also for national security. The third, the leaders should invest in societal resilience against hybrid threats. This includes strengthening independent media, countering disinformation, improving strategic communication, and protecting critical infrastructure such as energy systems, telecommunication, and cyber networks. Fourth, regional cooperation must become more practical and security-oriented. Intelligence cooperation, joint response to hybrid threats, and coordinated crisis management mechanisms can significantly reduce the risk of escalation in sensitive areas. Finally, a key stabilizing step for the region would be deeper integration into NATO security structures, because NATO membership or close partnership provides credible deterrence and against destabilizing actions. Security in the Western Balkans will not be achieved through neutrality or ambiguity. It will be achieved through clear Euro-Atlantic alignment, strong institutions, and resilient societies. We saw too many times until now that how the weak institution can be influenced by outside. For example, in Montenegro and also in North Macedonia. We saw that in 2026, it was, Russia and Serbia tended to kill also their president and prime minister, Djukanovic. And too many times they wanted to influence Montenegro. And also now, also why Montenegro is in NATO, they continue with the same strategy. But they need a geopolitical shock, a geopolitical moment to react. And Vučić said when Kosovo was doing steps during the NATO and during the Council of Europe, that we are waiting for the changing of geopolitical moments to act against Kosovo. And so we must to be very careful what is happening here. If we continue not to stabilize our institutions and our strategy and to have unified strategy in military ways, cyber threats, and too many fields, at a moment we will be surprised by hybrid warfare from Serbia and from Russia. Every time they are using too many things. Now, Serbia said that they are weaponizing their country too much, and they are making new recruitments, new investments in military ways, and they are cooperating more and more with Russia. And sure, they are making a difference, clear difference, that they are pro-Russians, and they will continue with Russia at every moment and every shock of geopolitical happiness in the international relations.
Dr. Kuci, thank you very much for your concise and specific answers and explanations. It was very, very interesting for us. I will use the chance that our viewers writing comments on the live chat section. So as far as I can read, Latin transcription of Serbian language, Mrs. Slavica Jovanovic asks, where from this idea came to you that the Serbians are a threat for any country? We had a lot of plenty of sorrow with our own politicians. Yes, Mrs. Jovanovic, and we specifically stress on the fact that it's not about the people, it's about the politicians in power, it's about the political elite, which has its own goals, political purposes, and this is the problem of the society in Serbia, which suffered enough under such a political regime. The main problem here is whether the political elite of Serbia is trying to export conflicts abroad. It's about Bosnia, it's about Kosovo, it's about influence in Montenegro, Crna Gora, as Dr. Kuci said, through the church. It's about Macedonian people who are influenced by the deep state, and the deep state, as the previous Prime Minister Ljupčo Georgievski said, controls North Macedonia. And the thing is that usually the politicians in Skopje are under the influence of the former structure placed in Belgrade. It's called UDBA. So it's not about the people, Mrs. Jovanovic, it's about the politicians and the political elite. We don't have any problem with the Serbian people. Even the Serbian people are victims, because your EU integration is blocked by this political elite, not by other people, countries, and agents. I don't know whether Dr. Kuci would like to respond something to this, but
I will tell that yes, it's because of the elites and because of the regime, the Vučić regime there. But the Vučić regime is making a strong propaganda there, and sure, he captures most of the media, or 95% of the media are pro-Vučić there. And also the NGOs and most of the NGOs, and sure, they have the military intelligence and too many institutions they forced, and also the last election there were not too democratic way, and I'm pretty sure that most of the, or at least half of them, Serbian people do not want such things to happen with Serbs, because they want, I think also for the Serbs, it's the moment to say enough with the wars, enough with the propaganda, and we need to have a good cooperation with all our neighbors, and to have an integration in European Union. But it's to the people there, to make the changes. No one can make the changes for Serbian people in Serbia if they do not react against their government. I'm not telling to make anything as a civil war or something so. In democratic way, in things that is the best for the people there. I don't know what is the best for the Serbia really because I'm not living there. But I know from our country what is the best. But I know also that we cannot continue for too many years in this way, because also the Western countries will be tired at a moment and will say, please go away, we are tired with you and do what you want. What we will do? We will kill each other again or what? I think it's the time to finish this.
Thank you very much. And a friend from Sofia, Ivan Kolev, is asking, where does the guest see the role of Bulgaria in the security of Kosovo and more broadly in the Western Balkans? And how does the potential involvement of North Macedonia fit into these relations as a bridge between Bulgaria and Kosovo?
Yes, I read that in English. So Bulgaria accepted Kosovo, and Kosovo and Bulgaria have good relations, and also in this, but we do not have too much. I think too much cooperation in the security ways, or at least we do not know in public. But if we use the NATO, we can be more in coordination way to have more communication, more interest that can be used for each other. Example, Kosovo now has an agreement with Albania and Croatia in military way, and also the Bulgaria and Kosovo can create those agreements to have or to cooperate in military way, to be prepared for every situation that can happen in the future. And also what is important for all the Balkan countries, I think that the problems like the ethnic problems, internal problems, political problems with each other, in also internal problems in countries, not just with each other, not to reflect in strategical ways. Example, a problem with of Bulgaria with any other country like North Macedonia or any other country, not to reflect to broke the strategical way of the security, and also other problems, because we know that it's not the problem to have a relation with Russia or with any other country, but the problem is the tendency of Russia to impose their ideology and their geopolitics against Bulgaria. For this reason, I think that the Bulgaria and Kosovo and also other countries in the Balkan and exclusively with Western Balkans must cooperate more. Bulgaria has more experience in too many fields and can help Kosovo in too many ways, and also can cooperate with Kosovo to help them to be part of the NATO and EU.
Very well. Our friend from Istanbul, Turkey, Argir Stumbov, is asking, does the Serbian opposition have the capacity to cut off Russian influence, or do they share roughly the same mindset? Yeah, it's a very important question, Argir.
Yeah, it's a very important question. The Serbian opposition until now, they didn't have the capacity to cut the Russian influence or to change the regime there, because they didn't have a real code how they will function and who are their leaders and what are their intention against also the neighbors. Example, in the protests there, if you want to have new leaders, you must to have clear strategy. How to cooperate, how to change the regime there, how to function Serbia, how to have a political, foreign political direction, and in this way, also you can create a political agenda to change the regime. But in a way, we thought the direction is too difficult also to change the regime and also to gather more people and more. And what is here the problem there? To the demonstration protests, they have a peak. And that peak, if they cannot be more and more with people, example, 100,000, 100,050 or something, so they will continue then to go down. And they are now in go down. So if they do not want to go more in down way, they must change their strategy and to have more clear objectives. But they must also not to cooperate in any way with Russian influence, because Russia will protect Vucic. We must remember at December 3rd December 2021, it was Alexander Volin with Russia. They achieved an agreement to cooperate that Russia will protect with intelligence Serbia against the color revolution. So the Russia is actively protecting the Vucic regime, and Vucic regime know very well that if they change the protection, they will lose their power. So they are independent with each other, and for this reason, they must to make a clear cut the opposition there demonstration, not political parties opposition, from the Russian influence, Russian interest, and also the Vucic regime.
It's nice that you mentioned Alexander Vulin. He is actually one of the main proponents of the concept of Serbian world, Srpski svet.
Yes.
And I don't know whether the opposition in Serbia has different mindset, but I know one thing for sure. Even if some of them are pro-European or the protesters, they wouldn't say something that could be perceived as a deviation of the national dogma of Serbia, because the opposition wouldn't like to be perceived as traitors. I remember last year, a friend of us, a very famous Bulgarian journalist, Boyko Vasilev, made a big voyage in Western Balkans. He made a very nice documentary, and he participated in our podcast. It was just after the big concert of the rock singer Thompson in Croatia, a very patriotic singer and veteran of the wars for Croatian independence. And there was another big meeting in Serbia, actually a series of meetings in Serbia, where even the younger speakers, the protest leaders, used some nationalist slogans. So in a certain way, Boyko Vasilev said that all these people who attended the Croatian concert of Thompson went there as a reaction to the Serbian society's mindset with all these nationalist slogans. And he said, Boyko Vasilev said, that it seems that the leaders of the protests, not the political opposition, but all these civic activists, are exercising different ways to impact on the society in order to have their goals achieved, like resignation of Vucic. But if it's true that they try different methods to gain the support of the society, and if one of these methods is using nationalist slogans, this is actually troubling thing, because it's very easy for the leaders and even of the opposition, even the people who are not politically engaged but to participate in the processes, to get in this path of speaking like nationalists and becoming nationalists. So it's really troubling thing. What kind of messages leaders of the opposition or the civic activists from the protest use? But we witnessed, and Boyko Vasilyev said that, yes, they use these slogans because they try to attract more people. But it's really dangerous thing.
We must remember also now the Bullion made a declaration when the war started, Iran-Israel, Iran-Israel USA, and they killed the Khomeini there. And in a television now in Serbia, he said that why also Serbia must, why not Serbia to act like Israel and USA are acting to Iran. Also, us, we must to react against Kosovo and to kill Albin Kurti and his people. Albin Kurti is the prime minister of Kosovo, for the viewers there who don't know that. And he made a public threat against the politicians, leaders in Kosovo, and also the Kosovo, with the same example as it happened in Iran.
Tony Makedonsky is asking, to what extent the new Kosovar generations know Serbian language? I suppose no.
Young generation, Albanian people, I don't know really how much they know, but too many people now are learning Serbian languages. But the old generations know at all because they must learn that at school at that time. But also now, too many people are learning that. I'm a witness that it's happening here, this. And we have too many courses in Pristina here and also in another cities that the people are learning the Serbian language. But example, we have cooperation. We have friends from Serbia, Serbian people that live in Kosovo and also in Serbia. I have a connection, example, me with professors from Serbia and also from Kosovo. People, they interchange ideas, we communicate for scientific ways, and many of us, we live a life a real way without any problem. So the Serbian language is important for all of us to learn, as it's important also for the Serbian people to learn the Albanian language. We are neighbors.
Yeah, of course. It's good to have mutual understanding, learning each other languages. And Spaso is asking, what do you think about 1244 resolution? Oh, Spaso, it's something old. It's before the independence. You know, Bulgaria, I don't know, our guest will reply to this, Dr. Kuci will answer, but Bulgaria recognized the independence of Kosovo. Your country recognized the independence of Kosovo.
We must remember something, that Kosovo has an opinion from the international court that said that the independence of Kosovo is did not made any disagreement with international relations, and they said that this question was sent by Serbia and Russia using Assembly of UN, and they said that also 1244 resolution and also all of the international documents are in agreements with the independence of Kosovo. And also 1244 resolution is part of the constitution of Kosovo. Marti Ahtisaari Pact is also part of the Kosovo, and Kosovo also used all the international documents to protect the minorities' rights. And also in Kosovo, we use the positive discrimination toward the minorities. So in parliament and all institutions in Kosovo, we have exclusive seats and exclusive position for all the minorities in Kosovo. Example, for Serbs, we have 10 seats. If with those, they cannot earn more 1 or 2 seats, but we have a positive discrimination, and we gave to them 10 seats, and also to other minorities we gave some seats. So in this way, also 1244 resolution is not more active, and also Vučić accepted that in December of the last year, that the 1244 is not more active. So just any propagandist from Serbia or any one that do not read or do not understand the international relation continue to use that. And about the protection of the churches in Kosovo, we must remember that all the churches and all mosques and everything that had to be with religious ways are protected from the law and are protected every time by the institution of Kosovo and KFOR. And if you are referring to the 2004 incidents that happened at that time, we must remember that now we have too many declarations that those incidents are indicted from the military of Serbia against Kosovo to make some changes in Kosovo. And in another time, I can send that interviews that are now publicly.
I remember that thanks to this resolution, finally started the peace process and the institutional and capacity building of the Kosovo society, which is actually important. It's also important to remember that there was a history of ethnic cleansing on the Balkans in the 1990s. So in the light of what happened in Bosnia, it was really important for the West to ensure that such thing will never happen again. And it seems that at the moment, Spaso, Serbia was losing its credibility as a state which could provide equal rights, peace, and security for all its citizens. It was a process that started in the late 80s, when the autonomy of Kosovo was actually taken by Milosevic. So it's really something that must remain in the past. Kosovo is here to stay as an independent state, and it's important for all of us to support this process, because we don't want more wars on the Balkans.
We must remember that the independence of Kosovo offered too many peaceful statements to the all Western Balkans, because with the peace in Kosovo and with the independence of Kosovo, now we stopped or the Western countries stopped the appetites of Russia and Serbia toward Adriatic.
Yeah, another important note here. Nikos Ioannidis, a Greek viewer probably, is asking why don't we speak about the Turkish world? Don't worry, Nikos, we will make at Corridor 8 a specific episode dedicated to, let's say, neo-Osmanism and politics of Mr. Erdogan on the Balkans. It's true that Diyanet of Turkey is trying to provide cultural influence. This is kind of Turkey's soft power approach. It's also true that here on the Balkans, we must be very careful about all things sensitive. So,
yes, but we must to make also very different. All the countries have their strategies. Regional powers and international powers, superpowers and middle powers or second powers or regional powers, they have all the strategical ways to influence other countries. Also Turkey, also Hungary, example, they have some tendencies, and also too many other countries. But and also Serbia and Russia. But what is the difference here? The difference here is that the Turkey has tendencies to influence countries. They use also identity, religions, and something so, but they do not have the tendency to make any invasion or to make any atrocities that how they did in Kosovo, Serbia, and they do not have any tendency to destabilize all the countries. They have their influence. They want to have more influence with countries, and this is enough. In this way, can also Bulgaria function? Also, Bulgaria, may they have a strategy that they want to influence in some ways in Kosovo. They create any school here, they create any university for education, any cultural center, or something sort in religious ways, because in Kosovo, we don't know if we have Orthodox people, Albanian people, but in Albanian we have. And in this way, they want to influence a little. It's not this a problem. But the problem goes in another way when they want to make a punishment against the people. They want to make atrocities. They want to make things that are in the Hitlerian way, Lepes Browns, enough space for Slavic. Slavic, we are talking for Russian and Serbian, not at all Slavic. But they are using the Slavic identity. And every time when I say, I must to say Russian and Serbia, because not all Slavic. We aren't enemies with all Slavic. And for this reason, we must make a difference. Also, USA, they are made in influence in Kosovo and to many countries. But they are not using the power to make any punishment. So in another way, they are helping us because we need for us. They are helping us in investment ways, rule of law, stabilizing institution, integration in EU, and those are our interest. And also, if we cooperate with Turkey or any another country, it's not any problem in this way. Sure, at many times we must to say stop at something. Not all countries we must to let them to influence with all they want, but we must to let them to influence what is in interest of the both parties. And in this way, I think again, I must to say again that we must to make the difference between Turkey influence, Serbian influence, and Russian influence. And also, if we can say also the Bulgarian influence. Example, for us, it's very well to have an influence from Bulgaria in Kosovo, because the Bulgaria accept Kosovo. Bulgaria do not want to cede Kosovo. Bulgaria do not have any interest to make any space for Bulgarian people here or something. So the influence sometimes it's welcomed.
Okay, it's important to have in mind that probably there is a presupposition here which might be questionable, like Turkish world is trying to distance the Balkans from the EU. I'm not sure about this, Nikos. Turkey has...
If I can say something?
Yeah.
Turkish, they know that they cannot do that. They cannot different Western Balkans from the EU, also if they want, because they haven't enough power to protect Balkans from the Russia. Hypothetically, if we are not integrating in NATO or in EU, can Turkey protect all the Western Balkans from the Russia? I do not think so. So the best way maybe sometimes to protect the influence of Turkey in the Western Balkans, if the Turkey help the Western Balkans to be part of the NATO and EU.
So it's important, yeah, it's easier and it's better for Turkey to have friends on the Balkans. And Turkey is trying to build such bridges with different countries. I understand Nikos' arguments it's true, Nikos, that we have a long history of wars here on the Balkans. Bulgaria against Turkey, Greece against Turkey, Bulgaria against Greece at the opposite. So
Maria Todorova wrote that she wrote a very well book for our societies in the Balkans. And he said we are enemies with each others and we have borders more than countries.
Exactly. Imagine in the Balkans. It's really important to have another image of the Balkans, another image of the future of the Balkans. But we live together with all these traumas. I wouldn't underestimate the traumas of the Greeks, but I wouldn't underestimate the traumas of the Bulgarians from the wars between us. We all suffered and we all did some misdeeds. The thing is how to build sustainable future on the Balkans. Turkey is external actor on the Balkans, but Turkey has certain minorities. There is population in Bulgaria, there is population in northern Greece. We know this. What to do? To stop the communication between Turkey and the Turks on the Balkans, to stop the migration or the way in which Turkish citizens, which origins are from the Balkans, to obtain citizenship. It's impossible if we want to live in a democratic world. The thing is how to prevent future conflicts is to build network in which we are mutually dependable on each other. So we have to build a mindset in which we can grow together.
Yeah.
No by misusing or using others or trying to build our fortune and by making other nation suffer or feel loss. So this is the hard thing. I don't know whether we will do it, but for sure we will make a separate, specific episode about the influence of Turkey on the Balkans. It's of course it's a process that should be observed and analyzed in let's say not nationalistic manner, but really as a process, so we can draw some conclusions. Is there other questions? Actually, Dr. Kuci, I wouldn't like to misuse with your time, because when we discussed initially our episode, I said probably about an hour. It's more than an hour now. I don't know whether you have about 10 minutes maybe to see the last questions in the comments, if it's okay for you.
It's good to have comments because here comments are very good. As in, I have more than in X example because there are too many people who wrote, and most of them are from the Serbian people, that they are from the Vučić regime.
Okay, so we will check some of the questions. Spaso from the United States. How much Bayraktar long-distance drones have Kosovo and Metohija import from Turkey? And what about drone production there? So there are some commas. There is no border between Kosovo and Albania. Spaso, Kosovo doesn't perceive Albania as a threat, so why should be a border with police or army?
I'm not understanding for what country is talking Kosovo and Metohija. Where is this country?
Okay, so Spaso probably studied Yugoslavian textbooks. But is there such drone production imported in Kosovo from Turkey, Bayraktar? It's really interesting in terms of national security and defense point of view. I remember that Bayraktars were firstly used in a war during the Second Karabakh War by Azerbaijan against Nagorno-Karabakh separatist government, and it was working very well. So probably Bayraktars are really good drones. Is there something else? I'm not sure.
I'm not listening.
Do you hear me now? Oh, you freeze. Probably something with the connection. Do you hear me, Dr. Kuci? Okay, maybe there's some problem with the connection, I don't know. But there is another nice question.
Unfortunately, I'm not listening you.
Oh, I don't know what happened.
I don't know what is the problem, but I'm not listening you.
Do you hear me now? Or no? Okay, let's this. Prijatelji, dear friends, could you write in the comments whether do you hear me? Please tell me. Okay, so Gurakuç doesn't hear me, but I'm asking him whether he could replay to this question.
I'm not listening you what you asked me, but I don't know where is the problem.
So
if you have any other way to send me that.
I think there is some problem with the.
Okay, now I'm listening you. Now I'm listening you.
I think there was some problem with the connection because also the vision of your camera was poor for a short moment, but everything is fine. And our viewers wrote that yeah, they hear me and they hear you, but it was probably
also now it's having problems. I don't know why.
But you could answer to this question if you read it. I don't know where it is. Argir's question. No, Dr. Kuci froze again. So there is a problem with the connection here. I don't know why. But even if it's so, I think it was a really great conversation, very useful, very precise in the analysis of Dr. Kuci. Yeah, I think there is some problem with him, with his connection because, or partly because his image freeze. Do you hear me now? No, it's again the same thing. So Argir, it seems that we have to invite again Dr. Gurakuç Kuçi in order to discuss further our Kosovo issues, Western Balkan issues, EU issues. It's really important what you said. It will be interesting.
I'm not hearing.
Okay, do you hear me?
Problem? I'm not hearing you.
I will write him down what to do. So do you hear me now? So I advised Dr. Kuci to leave the studio and to come back again in the studio. Probably we need some more time. These are the issues of the live stream. They are very problematic sometimes, but thanks to all these internet live casts, we are connected. We don't have a real studio in a physical location, but we have connection with people from all around the world. We have such great, amazing episodes. So do you hear me now, Dr. Kuci? You froze again. It seems that there is a problem with the connection. And let's be patient. We will have another conversation with him. I will invite him again. There is such trouble sometimes. And hopefully we will have more episodes with Dr. Kuci. He was very nice in his communication with me. He was very polite. So I believe in future we will have more episodes with him. what we will do now is to say, dear friends, it was episode 293. It was a great episode, and I believe we will have much more in our playlist called Corridor 8 Global. We will discuss regional issues, international issues in this playlist, Corridor 8 Global. This was Dr. Gurakuç Kuçi. He is a researcher at Institute OCTOPUS for Hybrid Warfare Studies, and he is a professor at the Universum College in Kosovo. And stay with us with our future episodes. We will be together again.